Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and welcome to another episode of Stat Me Up for Anfield Index. 13 points clear on the back of a 2-0 victory over Newcastle. There were so many things to like. There was a £57 million loss reported today, but thankfully we've got a doctor that only charges £4 Mauritian and a chalk ice to do this. So with that in mind, Barts, how are we today in the nice heat?
We're good. We're just at the back of a cyclone, so it's fun times. But it's still hot, although just extremely wet as well. So there you go.
There you go. And here I'm wearing my PJ Well style jacket because it is absolutely freezing and it's supposed to be warming up to March, but that isn't happening anytime soon. Regardless of that, there is plenty to like, people, because we think back to Newcastle. I mean, 30 points clear is pretty special anyway, Bart. But just the eye test that we always talk about for this. I was at the ground. I was quite near the halfway line. And for me, the eye test says we dominated them. Yes, they had Isaac out and people will look to that. But we absolutely dominated this game with a superior team. It almost felt like we could have scored more goals if we needed to. We controlled the game, it felt, largely. Maybe a small bit at the start of the second half when we kind of still in the changing rooms. But Liverpool thoroughly deserved victors. Do the stats back all that up is the big question.
I think largely, yeah. Those who listened to the UP the other night on this game, I think it's one of those where the top level, was 60-40 possession, 55-45 till outshot them, 12-3. They didn't have any shots on target, which is why PPDO doesn't work. You need a shot on target from both sides to score in that. PK box shots at 9-2, which is incredibly dominant. Penalty box touches not as much as you'd think, only 32 versus 18. So we were double them, but I'm just saying that's a bit meh. That's a bit medium for us. If you look at what we've done against like Forest and Brentford, where we've hit nearly double that. So a little bit different. XG though, I mean, any game where you keep your position to 0.22 XG is an amazing game. They had no shots on target, so they don't get any post shot, which is the XOT. Threat wise, we can again always say keep it down below 50, and you're doing very, very well defensively. So we got it at 20% conversion for threat to XG.
Nice.
Ours though, we only got 1.7 XG and 80% conversion. So in the last two games, where as much as I love the fact we won the last two games 2-0 by the way, it's only just over 2. I consider less than 1. So it's kind of like, and I don't think that's that far off what the eye test said either. I mean, like passes, we outpassed them. We had more touches. Yes, we were more successful. There's lots of things you can look at. And at half split, as you said, first half, 60-40 Phil till the 65-35. Second up is a bit more even, I've been honest with you. But they didn't actually do anything tangible with it. But I will take your moment back. That first 15 minutes, or a little bit more than that, but they had a chance just after we'd scored.
True.
And football is often about, there's a lot of sliding door moments in football.
Yeah.
If Wilson puts that away, I would suggest it's an incredibly different game. Now, it's the only mistake that Canate made all game. One-on-one, Wilson puts it in the corner, does a Jota when he did. Jota did it at Villa. So, but aside from that, I think we then went, right, not tonight, lads. Let's shut this up. Let's really calm this down and move it on. Probabilities, we were dominant, but that's kind of, if you keep the XG low, then the model's going to go, right, you deserve to win. 1-0, 2-0 being the most obvious scores, to be honest with you. A Newcastle win was 3%. So, that's fairly dominant in that kind of elements. Pass maps, a bit of a return to the wingers attacking. Jota in there, I think personally makes all the difference because there's a lot of connections in here. The only person who didn't connect with Jota was Mo directly. That's over 4 times, so it could have been there once or twice, but not in the past maps. They were interesting how they retarget an area. They also, on average, had Gordon playing in the 9, which is probably something more ahead of Wilson. So that's a little bit weird, considering in previous games he had a good Konza, didn't he, or Trent?
That's right.
So something that could have been they wanted to have him around Grav. Grav didn't have a great game at St James's, so maybe. But for whatever they tried, I don't think it worked that well because Gordon's great in the wide. I don't think he's very good in the tight spaces in the 10. A bit like Diaz, to be fair. Diaz, I think this game he was electric because he's on the wing, right? He's just doing the stuff that Diaz wants to do. I don't think Diaz wants to be a 9. So he wants to play left wing, so that's really good. In terms of on the ball, where do we get the ball? Where do we move it around? The pleasing thing for me for this game was our ratios of how long we kept the ball in different chains was back to being a bit more balanced. So we had like 30% in the very low, which is like 5 maximum chain, 20 in the 5 to 10, and then we had the most dominant amount of possession was in a chain that was over 16 passes, which shows you we were sort of stringing moves together. And we just haven't done that for a while. It's been a while since we've been like that. You said half space in zone 14. Again, going back to what you said, I think first half we got in the areas a bit more with higher volume. Second half, what was interesting was that we got into the areas more with progressive passes or carries rather than the pass. So that's a little bit different than what we tried to do. But that's kind of the on-ball stuff. We'll come back to player in a minute. Where do we create threat from? Well, left-hand side, you saw all the pass map, loads of players around there. You had Mac, you had Diaz, and that is shown to them. They create a lot of threat. But again, what we're very good at doing, we were doing probably first block of 10 games, is attack down the left and then switch it back to the right. And then Mo would have an opportunity or create something. And that's kind of what this pattern is. Create threat down here, swing it back here, and then there'll be an opportunity. And Mo, in this game, didn't do a lot of creation, but he was on the end for maybe the final ball or the little ball inside or that kind of thing. So there's lots to like about that. Newcastle tried to get in at our left-back area, which is interesting. Teams normally target a right-back area. I actually thought Costa's played pretty well, to be honest with you. So he did it right for us there. In terms of off the ball, we normally start slow. So PPD are better, right? So that's the number of defensive actions per opposition pass. So we actually started pretty down well, which I think the eye test for me definitely. The first half an hour, we were like zippy. We were trying to win it back. Our passing was 1-2s. And that's what this graph says. This basically says we were only allowing 2 passes before a defensive action or less than that. So that's really good. Whereas conversely, they were allowing us to get up to about 10 and nearly 9 and didn't really start pressurising us until about 25 minutes on, which is they were already goal down. So, so some difference in approaches. Our targeting defensively, defensive actions, we generally were looking higher. So we were down the left, targeting quite high, which we were pickpocketing off their fullback, who's not bad. I can't really know the right back.
Livramento.
That's it. Good player, but we target him. That's nearly 16, 20 defensive actions in that kid's area. We were proper targeting there. Left-hand side with Hall, is it, the youngster who's quite good. Conversely, we didn't as much. He's probably got just short of under 20 defensive actions. So, we definitely targeted the left back to get at him. And therefore we could then get Diaz in and overload with Costa if we needed to, or Jota was in and around this area a lot as well. So that's kind of an interesting thing we did. And particularly in that first half, you'll see high amount of targeting in that left back area. Second half, kind of let him have a little bit less off. Again, second game in a row, we've had a really good off the ball pattern. So we've won it and tried to get it into areas, which is something we just simply weren't doing. we were doing, but wasn't very effective. Second half, we went back to being a bit of a longer game. So yeah, on and off the ball, I thought we had some good periods. I mean, any game where the opposition's XG line looks like that, you kind of had a good game, right? Yeah, I think there's lots to like about it. All of our shots were in the width of the goal as well, which is again something to be apart from Mo maybe, but that's a return to what we were doing early season. We were very disciplined in where we were shooting from. So yeah, I think generally speaking for me, a good performance on and off the ball. I would just suggest that for me, like that amount of threat, I would have expected more XG to be produced or better quality chances. You know, you're really into left half space there, really into the final third, and yet we only created 1.7 XG. So that's the only criticism for me. Is I think the number of times we played a ball in and it hit the heel of our player in front, or it didn't quite run. You must have seen that 3 or 4 times in the first half. And I know that's just the rub of the green, but it just meant that threat didn't convert into an amazing, because that player, I think those three occasions I'm thinking of, the player would have won, which would have been a really high XG chance. So you would have seen this XG go up to being above 2, maybe 3 easily, and the threat would have been, the ratio would have been better, but it just didn't quite happen. But the way we got there was superb. We went back to being a quick forward pass, knock it sideways or knock it back, side, back, forward. It was that kind of pattern again. So whenever there's a forward pass, it's either set back or to the side again. We were doing that in little triangles, and Newcastle just couldn't live with us at times like that. So I do think Diaz was it's the best I've seen Diaz play for nearly 6 months, I would say. Really good performance. Dom was good. I'm not knocking that hell like that, but I just saying Diaz for me was exceptional the way he got into the box, carried the ball, carrying it from deep, did everything you wanted him to do. And the ball he found with Dom was exquisite. I mean, there was 6 players between him and Dom, and yet he puts it perfectly where he needs to, and then Dom shanks the finish. But you know, it is what it is, and he goes in and won that. So yeah, no, I thought both sides of the game very, very well, bar that sliding doors moment with the Wilson chance.
Yeah, could have been a different alternative reality out there. And it is interesting what you say. That was when you think back now, you heard and it is uber critical on this, people, by the way, as we're saying it, but that ball where almost it hit Diaz's heel and it hits the Boslai's heel, and Salah, you could tell both times was thinking, that's a freaking double pair of assists you've robbed me of there type of thing. But such is the nature, and this is literally a very, very small thing because we are chasing perfection, it seems like, with this team at the moment. And there is a comment in the chat panel which I'm going to ask it you, and I'm going to have a go at the analysis wish.com version, and then you're going to correct me. But I'm going to have a go anyway, Barts, for this. That Helior's saying there, what I cannot find when I look upon the stats pages are how much each player's run at any given match. I looked upon the Newcastle players being completely drained at the end of the match. What I saw with this, and again, it's eye test whether the stats bear it out if we can answer this, Bart. We controlled the ball. They were shuffling from side to side. They were running backwards, moving around shape. And you could see as the game went on, especially into what you up boys talk about as garbage time, they just looked exhausted from having to shuttle across, chase back, almost not get any joy. Does that bring into it a little bit that why we're running less this season maybe is because we are controlling the ball like that so much more?
Oh, 100%. I mean, up until probably the period that everyone got a bit worried, should we say, we were able to get ahead, just control it and make the opposition run. If you listen to Under Pressure, I think Si's got the exact numbers, but basically Newcastle outran us that game by 6K, which is half a Premier League player. And they also had sprinters, which is a bit unusual because normally we would do that. So I can't remember the top people. So yeah, they did run more. The reason it's not in the stats pack for people to ask is that is proprietary data. I can't even get that. So I gets that through some contacts in the industry, should we say. But yeah, so it's very difficult to get the exact running, and even Si won't get you the half splits. Yeah. If you watch Champions League, they're available on UEFA.com. And the bully, as we've looked at before when we were profile players at TNM, the Bundesliga publish all that data as well. Everything. But the Premier League don't do it because they like to make a lot of money, basically. So they like to charge you for stuff like that. But no, to answer your question, we got outrun, we got out sprinted last night, which the distance bit isn't that much. I think you're right. We made them move. The sprinting thing is always a little bit of a okay, maybe. But ultimately, we got the result and we moved on. So yeah, it was an exceptional performance.
Yeah, it's a funny one, isn't it? Even though we say they run 6K further, they probably did more sprints. It still, as the stats say, show that we controlled it. And a player that got mentioned there, which I actually thought it's just almost, it's hard on a stat show to quantify, but it just feels like Dominic Szoboszlai has almost gone up a level in the last few games that we talked about. And in this one, he was the official man of the match. I thought from the eye test, he was brilliant again. I am intrigued to see what the stats say about Zob.
So we look at his kind of on-ball stuff here. We've got, he's a very, 89% pass rate for a midfield is very, very good. The standard we are was to hit is, probably by 80 plus. Receiving 94, which is receiving at high, is very good as well. He was involved in 7.4 about threat creation, which is high for him. Not particularly high in terms of the relevance, but you've got to remember we go through the wide areas. So you got Diaz and Mo, large threat creators. Costas in at 12%. It's decent. It's below Robbo. Robbo's only about 60. So and Trent having slightly more conservative game, should we say? Although he got robbed of an absolutely amazing goal where he feeds it through. And then Mo spins it around the corner and Diaz misses a sitter, to be honest with you. That would have put his threat through the roof because that would have been a phenomenal goal. But anyway, get back to Dom. So, yes, Dom was very good. Looking at his penalty box touches. So, Dom, what's in here? Here we go. So, he got one in the box, 22 final third, and 33 in the middle, which is good. His dual rate was 70%, very good. Didn't attempt any aerials, which is fine. Had about 35 carries, which is the best for a midfielder, bar anybody actually. So that's very, very good. His connections for Dom, if we do connections, and his most efficient was Mo, funny enough, because he played next to him. And then he had an indifferent time between him and Trent. So some of that is the hitting his heel thing between Trent and Mo and that kind of thing. So there's some bits there. So I thought it was a good, don't get it wrong, I'm not knocking Dom. I thought it was a very good performance. Looking at his metrics here, he's above 4, 2, 3, he's above 4 out of 7. A very good performance. I profiled Mo because I thought he had another exceptional performance and he is above all the metrics. 7 above 7 and 7 metrics is not too bad. If you look at what Mo does, I think quite a game off the ball. Only won 20% of his duels, but 100% of his aerials, which again Mo doesn't really do. That's 2 aerials he's competed for, and the City game he competed for an error as well. So that's just a bit odd for him. Penalty box touches had 13 touches in the box for Mo in the penalty box, which, just to put that into context for people, Newcastle as a team only got in our box 18 times. Right, they only touched the ball. Mo had 13 on his own. Right, so just to give you context. And equally, just to finish it off, Mo had 17% of threat created. He received it 97, and his passing rate was 87, which is phenomenal for a wide forward. I thought it's really hard sometimes to pick a bit between when you've got your front six playing that well. It's quite hard to pick up. I thought Dom was brilliant. His off-ball work and his on-ball was really good. He probably could have got another goal. I think he hit the second one too well. Which is very, but equally, I thought Jota was in it. Like, Jota played really well. I thought Jota's off ball and the way we chatted a little bit last night about how maybe Jota going back in helps Dom a bit because he's a natural 9. He sort of creates a bit more. space. He works as a pressing engine, but he also offers a bit more of an outlet, keeps the centre halves occupied. So I thought Jota probably could have got. Did he get? I can't really. Didn't think any shots, which is disappointing for him. But it's unusual for Jota a shot. But yeah, that to me, I know that maybe it's not starting, but that's the best front three if they're fit. Cody would have a massive say on that, but I think Diaz just really highlighted why he's really good up in that wide left. Jota played really well, Mo played really well, and then Dom was able to have that space in between to do what he needs to do. And then quietly, efficiently getting the smartest guy on the pitch was McAllister, who got the all-important second goal.
Yeah.
Was largely doing the whole keeping over, moving people into the right position. But then when we needed it, like you said, we came out second half, we were a little bit on not quite there. Mac picks it up and goes, right, come on, then, we're going to get second here. And then goes and gets it, and then we just sit off. So, yeah, I thought it was a very, very good performance. I totally understand Dom got man of the match. And you've got to share it out, I suppose, because you can't give it to Mo.
It's weird, isn't it? Yeah. And if someone had asked me after the game, I said Szoboszlai, absolutely brilliant. And as you said, 4 out of 7, he's well above the metrics. It's just crazy that almost arguably nonchalant with Mo Salah, 7 out of 7 above all the metrics. I still can't get over the fact that he only had 5 less penalty box touches individually than the entire Newcastle team for the entire game. So that talks about his goal threat. And like you said, it almost feels sometimes when we're picking these players, people, it's based on what the official stats say. So we run from that. Diaz, sensational. McAllister, sensational. This is why we're talking about a 2-0 game as one of the performances of the season in terms of the context, where we sat. Yeah. And yet, even now, as we chat it up and slice it up, a sliding doors moment from Callum Wilson can change the course of history completely. But history tells us we are 13 points clear. We batter Newcastle, so we roll on with that. That so much to like. And weirdly, Barts, there is no weekend game. Maybe actually, funnily enough, losing to Plymouth isn't the worst thing in the world, despite what people would have you believe. And please, as I'm saying that, I want Liverpool to win every game, but just a day off now and again helps everyone. So we're casting our mind to PSG a week, or Wednesday, it was a week from this game. Now, PSG, Barts, when we have a quick scan at them, someone is going to shout at me for saying this. Yes, the French Ligue 1, the Farmers League, blah, blah, blah. Let's get all that out the way. But they are topped by a considerable distance. They have scored 62 goals, which is 12 more than anyone else. And they have conceded 7 less than anyone else. I know the expectancy will be there, but let's be statistical and factual. Champions League, this is maybe the ultimate measure. They qualified in 15th place, which seems bizarre that we're playing them having been top, but there we go. They won half their games. They lost 3, they drew 1, scored 14, which is about sort of mid-table-ish in the Champions League, but defensively, Barts, they only shipped 9, which, as you know, if you scan up, that is a very, very good number and would put them a bit higher up the league. So that is to take mind of. Stats-wise and goals, I always think Dembele for PSG is injured, but the fact he's bagged 25 goals this season, he's on a little run, is something just to keep instead. And Bradley Barcola, 16 goals, 11 assists. We know how fast he is as well, Bart. So in terms of going to Paris, the threats, the individual players, where they sit in the league, etc., this is no easy game at all from my pure retail stats. What have you got for everyone?
I'd love to give you some good news, Dave, but if you look at Understat, right, which is our old way of looking at what they should have got and what they have got, right?
Yeah.
It's an older model, but I still think it holds water. So, yes, they're top. They hit all the factors of Farmers League. Yeah. Give you the conversion if you really want to go there. But anyway, they've scored, as you said, 62 goals, which is 12 more than anybody else. but understat has them they should have scored 70 goals.
Jeez.
So that they're actually underperforming by 8 goals in the league. That's quite a feat, if I'm being honest with you. That's a huge amount of goals they're not doing. So they've conceded 22, they should have conceded 25. So they're running a bit hot the other end. But why not? I mean, 3 goals is not a lot, that's just not a lot. Points wise, I think they've got them as expected points to be 55 and they've got 59. So they've been a bit fortunate by the odd 2 games, but they're still well ahead of the opposition and they will no doubt cruise to a league victory. So there's just some things to be wary of there that they probably, it could be one of them games. They could score a lot. I mean, they conceded 22. They conceded just they've been on with understand that they conceded a goal a game. All right, just to keep that in mind. So that's where we are with them. If we look at in terms of our old favourite, brief, we look at shots they concede. If I can find the page, I actually want to find, but they are generally, I think, not. It's hard. It's hard when you're looking at. You kind of go, like, what are they? What are they? Any, what are they? Yeah. What are they kind of? Is the league decent? Those kind of things. It's not down radio or anything, but it's just not. It's really hard to quantify leagues and go through it and understand where they are. I'm just trying to find a match log, which is not doing me any favors. There you go, match logs. Right. So. Because you got to remember that the Bundesliga, we take 15% off to move it down. The League One's even lower than that. It's about 20% of stats. But if we look at where we are, so they generally are the last few games, shots they've taken. I mean, they shoot a lot, right? I mean, you're seeing the figures there. These are 20, 15, 20, 20, 15. That's a lot of shots a game, right? Because we've been dealing with teams that have 10 or 15 shots. So what do they concede? They concede again, though. They're conceding the last game they only conceded 4, but previously it's well over 10 shots, even nearly 15 has been an average. So that does give you a bit of an indication that they might allow us to have a lot of shots on target, about 5 shots on target a game, and they managed to achieve nearly 10 shots on target a game, which again is more than Newcastle managed against us. So there are some bits in there to be aware of. They could create about 2.5 XG a game on average, and they concede. They're pretty consistent. They're about 1 XG a game. So, but the caveat here is when have they played? So when they played City, they conceded 2 XG. Now City, as we know, they're not in the best of form, but they're still better than probably most of the Liga One. Okay, so City only created 9 shots and they only had 6 on target. City did that. City had 9 shots and 6 of those were on target, and they created 1.7 XG. Right? What did Paris do against City? Paris had 26 shots, 8 on target, created 2.8 XG. So. It becomes a bit. What I'm trying to say is it's a bit more balanced than in the league. They're not letting 1 XG and they're creating nearly 2. When it comes to a slightly better position, they're conceding more XG. They're still keeping the same rate of creating XG shots. So I think there's something in that in terms of their defense is good for the league, and it looks okay in the Champions League. But when they come up against some really good sides, they might struggle. So if you look at this is them. They play Bayern Munich, which arguably are in better form than City this season. They only created 0.8 XG, and they only had 11 shots with only 3 on target. And Bayern had 18 shots and created 2.4 XG. So it's just one of those where you can look at it and go, potentially when they come up against the absolute a better quality side, which we undoubtedly are, right? Please, French fans. I'm not having a go at your league, but it's just factual. Liverpool, in terms of all the rankings, are better than all the teams in the League One. PSG will remain to be seen the other day. So I think there's something in that our quality should mean we try a better level of threat in XG, and we should be able to defend against it. And this is what successive PSG managers have said. If you want to win the European Cup, hold money with PSG, it's really difficult because their day-to-day games are just not at the right level.
No.
So you don't get in. So you're going to go through the motions in the league and you just go, yeah, we can win that 1-3-4-0. You switch off. But when you're in the top game back in the Champions League, you can't switch off. You've got to keep that quality going. So even when they had phenomenal players, they still got done in the semis against Barcelona for a massive lead. So there's just things like that where because they don't practice every single week playing against top quality opposition, it can be a problem for when they go to Europe. So yeah, I would say if we can do our process right, we don't have any lapses at the back. I think this will be during Ramadan, but that'll be interesting to see how it affects Konate and Mo. It'll be 1-1. I personally think if we create the XG that if Bayern Munich can go there and create 2.4 XG, we could definitely go and do that. And then it's just about keeping it shut at the back, which again I'm fairly confident we can do. It's just then can we take those chances we curate? So the choice of centre forward will be really critical for us, and or who's available. If just as available, I think all things to Rosie. If not, then I'm not sure playing Diaz against PSG up front is going to be the way forward. But should be an interesting game. We should have more than enough quality, given Bayern have done that to them to go and do that. I mean, the City, to be fair, created enough XG there to win the game. It's just City can't get back door shut. So
it's funny, isn't it? As you mentioned that, because Jan Temple had put there as we were chatting that it's transitions this season that G have had issue with. It's a midfield issue, and it would seem to be that because they can score a lot and they can concede or create a lot of chances, concede a lot of chances in that regard as well, especially against elite sides where we're seeing this. And I see Heliol there has mentioned Vitinha will be eaten alive by Liverpool's midfield. And he also asked a question that I was thinking, and it's not sort of plotting out the whole game. We've seen Slot's tactical flexibility recently, Barts, as in we talked about that City game where he could play all four midfielders, shut the game down, only have 34% possession, but dominate still, as opposed to where we flip it round and we play the three up top and go for it. By the nature of PSG being high XG creating, but high XG conceded at the same time, do you think he will trade punch for punch, or do you think you could see the 4-2-4 with all four midfielders in it? And what would you be leaning towards for you?
I think it's unlikely he plays four midfielders because ultimately he's got to win the game at the weekend, which is Southampton. No, it's Southampton, but it's a league game. We need to 3 points, right? I do think he could play the Boxer game though. Jota could quite easily play that. He could quite easily drop in and play next to Dom, and then you have Diaz and Mo as your others. So I think he could do that quite easily, and that would give us a dominant base in the midfield. Although I would prefer, I think Slot would fancy this game. I think he would look at that and go, more detail than we've just done, but I think he could look at that and go, I can cause more instability to their system than they can to us.
Yes.
He might start with a basis of saying, look, I'll dominate midfield. I'll put 4 in there, whether that's Jota dropping in or there's play 4 midfielders. And then we'll create from there. So rather than City, we did that as a more of a, we're only going to let you play in this space.
Yeah.
Whereas PSG, we can do that to dominate, and then we'll play there. We'll kill you on the counter. We'll kill you in transition. So, I think we could do that. It'd be very interesting to see what game plan he comes up against. And this is ultimately where he earns his money. I think in the league phase, I know he won 8 games. What was it? 1-7 and lost 1, whatever it was.
Yeah.
But this is where it really matters now, is that it's knockout football. It's a different thing. So I could equally see him going there and just playing really boring and just trying to nick it 1-0 and then come out. So it's one of those. But no, I do think potentially dominating midfield, with a 4 could work really well. Whether that is Jota or CJ playing in as the 4th option remains to be seen, because there was talk in the City game that if Jota had been fit in the morning, he'd have played.
Yeah, it is hard. And maybe the good thing is we've now seen it this season. We have both options, literally, that we can see. And yeah, Helios says, like every theory, when you apply pressure, how do they react to it? Maybe that'll be in his thinking about, let's try and put PSG under pressure. We can deal with it better than they can. So that'll come into the mix as well. And the final bit, we don't always do this on Stat Me Up, but it's kind of a little bit of a crossover into TMM that we had, because this player, Warren Zaire-Emery, it was a player that Sam Maguire called, linked us out with a while ago. Anfield Watch had mentioned it, that we'd looked at this player a little bit. He's had a few injuries recently as well, Barts. So we think he's going to be back for this, but not 100% certain. If he is, it does feel like it's almost a free scouting mission in it for the boys there and doing their job so they can use the trip, be a bit less than covert, shall we say. But just for those that missed it, there was quite a lot we liked about this young kid, wasn't there?
Yeah, he is. I think he's exceptional on the ball here for a midfielder. 19-year-old, I think he's 19, isn't he? I got that right.
Yeah.
He's got progressive passes 83rd, his touches in the penalty box is 73rd percentile. Carries and passes are very pass completion 90%, which is what we need. Progressive carries 86, so that's better than the grab you're playing in there. Passes attempted 84 percentile. In the box, it's coming, but 67 percentile for shot creating actions. Defensively, I thought he blocked well and he tackled as well. He's not really aerials or clearance or interceptions. Yeah. That's more of a passing lane blocker. He is small though, 178 centimeters. But if you look at him compared with that midfield, look at him compared to Grab. The only real area that Grab's got on him is aerials, funny enough, and tackles and dribbles. If you look at him versus Curtis, again, he compares pretty well apart from the attacking stuff. So the not putting XG and the assist, Curtis is more dominant. I don't think he's being brought in to replace Dom. No. So let's not worry about it. Yeah, Dom's a very different player. Yeah, again, Dom's out there. So yeah, I think there's a lot to like about him. The pass on him was something we looked at as well, I think, if I remember correctly. Yeah, so he completed in total last season 1,300 passes. Already this season, he's up to just sort of 1,000. So he will, 1,400 attempted. He's up to 1,000 already. So he will smash that already, and that's good. And his percentage is good. He also mixes his game up between long and short. So and his XG is expected as assists has changed a little bit down, but he's probably playing more conservatively. He's playing the same number of progressive passes though, which is very good from deep. So final third passes 4.3. So yeah, I think there's a lot to like for a 19-year-old kid. But I think it'd be very interesting. You will have to caveat it with the fact that if we play 4 in it, this kid and his partner might get absolutely monstered. To be honest, they could get dominated because it would just be purely overloaded in terms of numbers, let alone quality. So, you said Dembele be playing in the 10. Is that right?
Yeah, they sometimes play in the 9 as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So whether they put another midfielder in there or player forward will again have a massive impact on these two players double pivot. So yeah, there's a lot to like about him. The packs out there that we've all done before, but that's different, actually, different pack. But no, that's a little preview of what we're doing tomorrow next week. But no, he does have a lot of speciality around him. I think his shot creating actions are probably an area he's dropped off from last season, but that could be down to the injuries and a changing role. But certainly his passing, I thought was exceptional for where he needs to be. And I think we looked him up as threat as well. We used a marker and he compared. He probably was better than Grab in that area. So yeah, I think there is a lot to like. Particularly if he gets on the ball, we allow him time, which I hope he won't do, then it'll be interesting to see what his range of passes are and see how he can hit. If they're under pressure, I'd imagine he's going to be the man that needs to get on the ball to then get out with quality into their forward plays. So if we can limit the two pivots from doing that, I think that would go a long way to us winning the game, to be fair.
Yeah.
But yeah, a very good player to keep an eye on for people.
Yeah, there is a bit, as much as we want to win this, fingers crossed he's fit and we can see what it's about if it does come to fruition there. But yeah, Jan clocked that as well, your phrase. Can't compare him to Dom. He's out there. I noticed that as well, Jan. But sometimes fair is fair. You've got to give the kid a bit of a go. And Helly are there saying, ultimately, I suppose the final thing I want to finish on with PSG in terms of the threat, it's Kavicha, isn't it, Barts? A player we would have both loved when we profiled him. We could do with him having a bit of a stinker, even though he started like a house on fire so far.
Yeah, and that's where we've profiled him before. Off the ball, he's not going to give you anything, right? I think we just accept that, right? On the ball, though, carries it. He's a very good carrier, progressive carrier, he'll try and play. He's not the greatest in terms of volume of passing. I mean, 80% pass completion is fine, but he's not the volume. He doesn't do that a lot. Shot creating action is 88. So he's not compared to Mo, but he's still, anything in the high 80s. He's very, very good. Non-penalty goals, 78% off. So he's not as hot as you would. I mean, I'm saying it's not shots per game. What is he doing? So he's in nearly 4 shots a game. So yeah, he's in very, very good form. But there are elements where you can see he's not taking the shot on as much as he would like to, and he's not creating that much XG from it. I'm just going to compare him if I can to here you go, Diaz. So this is last year, so it would have upticked a little bit since he's moved to PSG. But Diaz, it does compare very well with Diaz, apart from he's creating more assists than, which goes, he's not taking the shot on, he's passing the ball, right? So the guy in the middle, like if you said Dembele's playing there, that's why. Because Rashford is giving him the ball. So he's also very, very good, which is better than Diaz. So, yeah, this will mean that Trent will have to play well. You might see Dom or grab more over to the right. So you could see more of a double pivot rather than Mac being advanced City kind of thing. Grab was over helping Trent out. Yeah. And rather converting the City where they kind of went, go on, and you can beat Trent all day, but we know you're not going to produce anything. I can't remember the lad's name, but anyway, Doku, you kind of like, go on, and you do that. You don't produce anything. This lad does produce a City, so we will have to at some point double bank or work it out from there. So that could be a real story in the game. If we deal with him and we stop the supply to him, we should be good.
So there are threats, and we haven't even talked about Barcola and his burning pace if he gets down the left side as well. So they have got threats, these boys.
Yeah, and he will. That will be. I'd imagine Robbo starts. If I'm being honest with you, but I think we might find off the ball with double up. The other alternative to that is that you force the winger back to defence. So this will be easier to do in a box midfield than it would in a 4-3-3. Because you can maintain outlets with the wide players with the box still supporting defensively. Yeah, in a 4-3-3, you could end up with your wide players having to come back and support a double up. Therefore, you lose your outlets up front. We have a singular outlet up front. So yeah, the tactical battle could be really interesting. And they might just decide on a risk reward of, okay, we'll let them have the ball there and then we'll deal with it here. But conversely, if you go with the box, you can also high press and stop the ball getting to the wide players. So there's more than one way to skin a cat. Doubling up is a way to do it, but an easier way is stop it at source.
There is a lot for Arne Slot to ponder before Wednesday comes. And of course, we'll see who's fit, if there's any knocks, etc. But touch wood, we will be good to go as far as we know it. So there we are, ladies and gents. Newcastle, well, Mo Salah has nearly the same amount of penalty box touches as their entire team. We dominate from start to finish. Liverpool are 13 points clear. Liverpool have got a tough game in Paris coming up on Wednesday. It will be interesting to see. We're not even fully certain what that lineup will be, what the tactics will be. But in the famous last words of a doctor, maybe not something you'd want to hear on the NHS, there is more than one way to skin a cat. So we will see what happens there. All that leaves me to say as ever is Barts for the analysis on PSG, for the bits on Newcastle, for the extra analysis as well on Emery and Kavicha. It is much appreciated.
No worries, anytime.
And ladies and gents, that was another Stat Me Up for Anfield Index.